I got my first full-time job as a self-taught developer in October 2021, and I quit 2 months later. And here's why. I worked as a Flutter app developer for a startup based out of California, and they paid me $26 an hour, which wasn't much in 2021, but I was okay with it. And that is the only thing I was okay with because everything else was just horrible. When you get a full-time job, the first thing they do is they send you a MacBook, monitor, keyboard, mouse, speakers, and a lot of things you might not even need. I wasn't expecting any of that from this startup, but they said they're gonna send me a MacBook. And to be honest, I got excited because I have never had a MacBook before. I was running an old dusty Dell laptop that was running Linux at the time. Anyway, I started the job and went through the onboarding process, but the MacBook hasn't arrived yet. And when I asked about it a week later, they told me they don't have any MacBooks left because the last employee just ran away with it. That was a big red flag that I didn't see, and we're just getting started. In the meantime, I was having VPN issues and some of the software they wanted me to install didn't work on Linux. They also wanted me to install a spyware that would keylog, track mouse movement, take screenshots, and have full disk access. I don't know about you, but I told them that I am not doing that on my personal laptop. So they set up a Windows VPS that had all of that pre-installed, and all I had to do was SSH into it and work from there. So far so good, except that you can't run Android emulators inside a VPS, and the solution was to run the emulators locally on my machine and make sure they were detectable from within the VPS. I can't remember the exact details or the full setup, but I hope it makes sense. And if it doesn't, don't worry about it, because it is as stupid as it sounds. It was so unreliable that I spent most of my time trying to figure out why my IDE in the VPS was not detecting the Android emulators that I was running on my local machine. That is something I don't want to do ever again. It was horrible. It was horrible. Fortunately, things got better when I started using my brother's old Microsoft Surface laptop. It had a tiny screen, but it worked. Quick question, do you remember the spyware I mentioned earlier? Yeah, the one that tracked keyboard strokes and mouse movement? If I didn't move my mouse or touch the keyboard for 5 minutes, I would get a message from my manager asking, where am I, what am I doing, and why am I not working? Every single time without a fail. He told me to write in the chat anytime I'm stepping away for longer than 5 minutes. And the craziest part was, if I was gone for 20 minutes, I wouldn't be paid for that time since I was paid by the hour. So I would have to make it up, even though they were a little bit lenient on this one. And looking back at it, I was okay with dealing with all of that every single day because I was learning a lot. And I also got to work with offshore team members and see how a bad startup operates. I was also applying and interviewing for other jobs, but unfortunately I had to quit because staying there just didn't make sense. I wasn't applying for as many jobs as I thought because I was too busy moving my mouse around pretending to work, and quite frankly, $26 an hour wasn't enough to justify dealing with all of this nonsense. I just noticed everyone was offshore except for maybe 5 of us. I don't know what is up with that, but hey, that is something. You know what? I'm just gonna leave it at that. Before I get to the takeaways, have you ever worked at a company like this before? Let me know down below. Speaking of takeaways, as bad as it was, I learned a lot of valuable lessons. Since this was my first full-time job as a self-taught developer, I proved to myself that I didn't waste a year and a half of my life learning to code. It is a valuable skill that employers are willing to pay for. And I can get a well-paying full-time job. Yes, I had freelance gigs, but that is not the same as a full-time job with benefits. On the technical side, I learned how to navigate a large code base and how to debug a bad large code base. We had our project code base and 13 different modules interacting with each other. I don't remember the exact details or the setup, but I remember importing all 13 modules one by one multiple times. It was also my first time using a ticketing system like Monday.com and dealing with QA engineers firsthand. All in all, it was an eye-opening experience for me, and I wouldn't change anything. I'm just kidding. Maybe I would have paid myself more, But yeah, that is the story of a startup from hell. I think that is harsh. Yeah, I don't want to call him that. But anyway, that is all for today. Make sure to subscribe to this channel, and I'll see you next time.